Ay, ay, ay.
It says live on Facebook on my screen.
Okay, so it says setting it up. It says redirecting to our Facebook Live page, so it should be on here now. Okay, so we must be live on here. Okay, it says now we're streaming live. So let's just we'll go with this. Well, welcome everyone. You want to open us up, Mom?
Yes, how do I open it up? Just by explaining what we're talking about?
Sure.
Okay, so I am very happy to have all of these beautiful ladies on this Wednesday, Wellness Wednesdays. And we're going to have everybody introduce themselves. But really what we want to talk about, Bahia will be more specific about some of that. But I'm excited because we have such a cross section of people. We also have a special guest from the Gambia, where it's midnight, I think, where she is. And how do you pronounce your name again?
Ma Mary Fatima Sarfox.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful, but you know what? It's your name, and we appreciate that. And so happy that you're joining us. But everyone is going to introduce themselves. We're going to be talking about, really Black Girl Magic. We're going to be talking about how folks are coping with COVID, how people are coping in terms of the recent murders that have happened that continually kind of plague our community. And we have really just a lot of really great voices here. So we want to not waste any time and Bahia, have everyone introduce themselves. And what would you like them to introduce about themselves?
If you could introduce yourself by saying your name, how old you are, and what you either do for a living or what school or what grade or school you're planning to go to next year.
So let's start with Naime. She's right there next to you.
Oh, okay. I'm Naime. I'm 14. I'm going into sophomore year next year, and I go to Grant.
All right.
If you haven't introduced yourself, then know that you have.
Okay. I'm Nzinga. I'm 16, going into my junior year at Paulding County High School.
I'm Anaya. I'm 15, going into my junior year at Redondo Union High School.
Hi, I'm Asia. I'm 18. Sorry, I cut someone off. And I'm attending Howard University next year or this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Zamani Williams. I'm on the older end of the spectrum. I'm 25 and I just graduated from Emory University School of Law. I went to Georgia State University for undergrad, where I studied digital and media marketing. Yeah, so excited to talk with you all.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm 21. I am in Chicago. I go to school at University of Illinois, Chicago, but I just finished a semester in New York internship with American Ballet Theater.
Hi, I'm Kimora Gosby. I'm going to be attending to Vincent High School next year. I'm in 8th grade now, going freshman, and yeah.
Hi, I'm Zara. I'm 12 and I'm going to 8th grade next year.
Where are you, Zara?
Hi, I'm Zara. I'm going to 8th grade next year and I'm 12.
Where are you from? Where do you live?
I live in Maui, Hawaii.
And we hate you for that.
Hi, my name's Tala. I'm graduating from Central Catholic High School this year. Next year, I'll be attending Clark Atlanta University.
Hello everyone. My name is Ma Mary. That's what everyone calls me. I am homeschooled and next year I will be a freshman in high school. I'm in the Gambia right now and I'm 13 years old.
Hey everybody, I'm Zaylacia. I'm in Portland, Oregon. I do a lot of different things. So to keep it short, I'm in the realm of spirituality, healing, creativity, and movement. And I am 34 years old and a student of life.
I think Zufan's the last one.
My name is Zufan. I'm 9 years old, and I go to Kairos PDX, and I'm gonna be in 4th grade soon.
Wonderful. Well, I'm Bahia. I'm mother of Naime, daughter of Joy, play auntie to everyone else, and sister to Zay, and play auntie to everybody else on here. I'm about to be 44 years old this year.
And you're auntie to Zufan.
I am. Play auntie to everybody and real auntie to Zufan.
To Zara.
And wait, and cousin to Zara.
And Zara.
cousin to Zara.
Cousin Zara. It's weird. It's a weird thing.
Anyway, and I'm super excited to have everybody here. One of the things that I do is I run programs also for children and families. I'm a business owner. I'm a dancer. There are so many aspects of who I am that make me happy and pleased. And a huge part of that is my heritage, being a Black woman and having diverse experiences walking through this world in this skin. I wanted us to give an opportunity to talk about all the ways. I mean, we all look so different. We all have such different experiences in life, but the Black girl magic is what kind of binds us all together. And so we wanted to kind of explore that and talk about what that means. And, you know, we have to continue to shine the way that we do, regardless of what's happening in the world. So I'd love to open it up by asking one question, and that is, what brings you joy? What in your life brings you joy?
But before we do that, we were going to have Zufan sing.
Were we? I thought we were going to have her sing as a part of the bringing her joy.
All righty then. Never mind. I stand corrected.
But Zufan, if you'd like, Zufan wrote a song for Mother's Day. Can you tell us about your song, what it means, what it's about? And then if you would share it, that would be awesome.
It's about how much my mom means to me. And I really wanted to make her something special for Mother's Day. And my friend was writing a song for her mom. So I just started thinking of something, and my song came out. And my dad barely cries, and he cried when he was listening to my song. I feel really proud of myself about it.
All right. Well, that's good. We're proud of you too. Will you share it with us, please?
Out in the dark, without a spark, there I was. I had to believe that someone would come for me. There you were. You took me and you tucked me and you believed in me. You knew I was real. And now I know who to be, for I couldn't see that you were always there beside me. You're in me now, you were in me then, and now I want you to hold me tight, day and night. Hold my hand, hold my hand, hold my hand. And now I'm me because of you.
Thank you.
Yay.
Nice. Good job, Zuki. That is such a good job. Yes.
I cry too every time I hear it. Oh.
So lovely. So since you're sitting right here, I'll ask you, what brings you joy?
Brings me joy is African dancing with my friends like Kimura, and just hanging out with them, and a little bit of school, not a lot, but a little bit of school brings me joy, and hanging out with you, of course.
Thank you. All right. Who's next?
Okay. What brings me joy is working out, dancing with my friends, Naime, hanging around people that are loving and caring. I don't do none of those that mean stuff. That doesn't bring me joy. But yeah, family was definitely loving around my mom. Yeah, sports. Yeah.
I can second that. I would definitely say sports, loving track, and play basketball. But I can definitely say that sports bring me joy. Being around positivity and all around seeing people that I love and care about like complete their goals. That brings me a lot of joy.
I agree. Seeing people like accomplish goals in life that are like close to me brings me joy, and also hanging with, spending time with people, family and friends, is something I realize is so much like it has so much more meaning now that I'm not able to like as much. It makes me sad, but it brings me joy to like think about all the moments I have with people, and seeing other people happy makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm sensing a common theme here, but definitely spending time with loved ones, my little sisters. I'm the oldest of six, so my spending time with my family um, brings me a lot of joy. And being finished with school after 20 years of school. So, 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, 3 years of law school, to finally be done with school is a very joyous feeling. So I'm looking forward to reading for fun again because I haven't done that in a while. Also, prayer definitely brings me joy, prayer and positivity. And me and my siblings recently started a virtual devotional where we get together every week and we share prayers and quotes. It's like an interfaith devotional, so people from all faith backgrounds. We have anything that inspires us throughout the week, whether it's a song, a poem, a social media post. We get together and we share that on different topic each week. So that's really been bringing me a lot of joy.
So hello everyone again. That devotional sounded wonderful. I'd love to try that sometime. Some of the things that bring me joy are performing arts. I really love to do poetry. I love to do all different types of dancing, but I do a lot of Afro dance. I really also love to sing and play guitar. I put a lot of hard work in. I love to do that as well. And I also love poetry and singing and all of that good stuff. So that's what I love. I also love spending time with my friends. We always have a lot of fun. And I know this sounds really weird, but I'm normally a very shy person. So I normally get very flustered around like a lot of new people, but I really love having conversations with new people. So that's a lot of fun. Thank you.
For me, something that really brings me joy is being with my family and being home. I've always been in Chicago. I've gone to school in Chicago. My family's been in Chicago, my mom's side since they immigrated here, and that's where I plan on being. So being home meaning being in Chicago, that really brings me joy. Really good food, even if it's like from a restaurant or something. I have go-to places, but that really brings me like a lot of joy, especially if I'm with friends eating. And then I knew in terms of schools, I was able to study with friends. That was always like my study habit, the best study habit. And recently I realized that also applies in terms of deepening in the writings in the Baha'i faith. And so a new joy that I found is deepening with friends.
Something that brings me a lot of joy is playing board games with my family. I also like to do my hair. And recently I've been writing letters to my friends, and some I give to them and some I just keep for myself just to remember like memories and stuff for when I go to college.
There are so many things that bring me joy. So let's see. Dancing, free dancing, all styles of dancing, of course. Writing in my journal and free writing so I can bring shape and form to my inner world. So been doing a lot of that, reconnecting with that. Um, let's see. Communing with nature, being in nature brings me so much joy, and being alone, like creating that sacred space and time to just like be to myself, that brings me a lot of joy. Also creating sacred space for women and holding space for women to be themselves, and us to talk and share and exchange stories, that brings me a lot of joy. And some of you mentioned seeing people achieve their goals. That is also a big, huge joy bringer of mine. Anything that makes me laugh, any corny stuff, I love corny stuff. That brings me joy. And creating with my hands, anything I can bring shape and form to with my hands, that brings me joy as well.
What brings me joy is doing piano, playing piano with my teacher, hanging out with my friends, and hanging out with my family. I recently moved and I have new neighbors, so going outside and playing with them really brings me joy. And that's it.
Something that brings me joy is spending time with my friends and family and playing music. I play the flute and the saxophone.
What brings me joy is being with my family as well. Also, during quarantine, we've had so much more time to spend together, which is really nice. And I also like painting and sports.
So what brings me joy is really right here, right now. This is one of my favorite things in life. I do unabashedly and unapologetically love my people. I love Black people. I love people of color. I love all people. But I'm especially proud, and what brings me most joy is to see all of you and to know that we leave the future in the hands of people that are very much able to take us forward. And I mean that about all of you. Each of you possess skills and abilities that I admire. I'm claiming Zamani's law degree. I'm so proud of her. And she probably wouldn't say, but she was in an internship, the only African American, I believe, and was the only one of the interns invited to be part of this, I think the particular firm that invited her back. And so this, and this is who she's always been. So many of you that I know, including Zay, that I've watched, just really not only just grow, but to reach for others, to reach out to others, to help others. And that's my joy, is to help you replace me and to be of support to anyone out there that needs that support. But that's what brings me the most joy, is you all, and knowing that you all have the tools you need to move us forward in this world.
Well, thank you. Actually, all the interns were invited back, but I was the only Black woman to intern or to be offered a full-time position with their Boston office. So thank you. You definitely inspired me.
So one of the reasons why we came together to do this, and this is just, I mean, I'm loving seeing all of this beautiful magic that we have here. There is something very unique about all of us, and that's all people. But I think when you have a connection, a legacy that goes all the way back to Africa, which is the fountain of civilization, we have that's there's something very mystical and spiritual that connects us all to one another. And so we are looking at, especially being in the United States, and I know everyone is not on the mainland here or in the United States, we are faced with a lot of unique challenges also because of who we are. A lot of times we are not, people don't necessarily have the greatest expectations for us. And so part of why we wanted to do this was we wanted to make sure that you all knew and that people who are watching can remember and be reminded that we're amazing and we're magical. We do things despite the environments that we're in. And so part of why we've been doing this Wellness Wednesday during COVID crisis is because we want people to feel empowered that they are not going to be a victim of circumstances. You can make the change you want to see in your own life and in the lives of other people. And so that's part of why we're even doing this. But really, we want to highlight the beauty that is in our community. And a lot of times what I've seen is that our beauty and its diversity is not always appreciated. It's not celebrated. And we're actually painted in a very often negative light. So I just wanted to hear from people just what your feelings are about that. Like, what do you feel when you see media images or music or things that you feel like does maybe takes away from the true reality of what it means to be a Black woman, girl in this time?
I was gonna say, honestly, it really saddens me to see, especially from other Black people in general, degrading Black women, because as a whole, we're already very degraded and very disrespected by other races. And I just feel like all in all, we can do so much better in the portrayal of Black women, the portrayal of diversity of Black women, just things of that nature in general.
Oh, okay. It also saddens me to see other Black girls, like you're saying, Black people degrading Black women, but I don't like to see Black girls degrading Black girls or Black women degrading Black women, like fighting on each other or just talking about each other or how they look or something that they can't change, or like colorism between each other. I just hate to see that because it's like we're all the same. So
I feel like it's a really difficult topic, and I feel like it's a really difficult thing to talk about because it's in all cultures, in all countries. So it's not just in one country or in one culture. And I feel like it really hurts my heart because I feel like we are the strongest type of people in the world. Like, if you can think about everything that Black women have been put through, all of the suffering that we have gone through, I feel like we should be celebrated, if not anything. Even in the modern day, in today, even though it's not very modern in everything, but even in today, a lot of us are still struggling, and a lot of people are still struggling in the home, outside of the home, with abuse and different things. So I feel like we need a safe haven and places like this where people can talk and people have a space, especially during the lockdown. I feel like it might give a lot of bad people a chance to show their true colors and to be even more difficult with Black women. But I think that having places like this and forums like this where people can talk and express themselves, I feel like it's one of the most important things that we can do. Thank you.
I feel like it's like disrespecting yourself, like how you but the way you put yourself in that position. Why do that? It's just that question, why put yourself in that position? And that's always been the question for me. I don't like, I see all these hates and stuff like that. Just why? I just want to know. I didn't understand. It's like, why? That's all we have to say about that. But yeah.
This is such a loaded issue and conversation. I feel like there's so much to unpack here. Dr. DeGrew talks a lot about history and how like we have to understand like the context for everything, and our history is not taught in schools. So unless you're homeschooling or you're really reading certain materials, you're not really going to learn your history. And I think like the reason that like in order to sort of enslave people, like human beings, you have to do something. You have to rationalize that. And so like anti-blackness became so ingrained in this country. And like Mary was saying, like globally, anti-blackness is such a global phenomenon, and it's perpetuated in every aspect of society, from our healthcare systems to our schools to our black girls are like 6 times as likely to be suspended in school as white girls. And it's just like when we have this anti-black sentiment and we don't understand where it comes from, it's hard to like see it and believe that it exists. I think a lot of people believe that we are in a post-racial society, but I'm about to become a lawyer. Only 2% of lawyers in this country are Black women, 2%. And so, we still are lacking so far behind where we really should be in the year 2020. White families have, I think, 21 times the wealth on average that Black families have. So it's just like, we're so, the legacy of slavery and racism and anti-Blackness in this country is just so apparent. We have to really be vigilant if we're going to dismantle these systems. And that's why I'm just really grateful to have this conversation and, be with all of you beautiful, bright young women and hear your thoughts.
For me, it goes really, really deep, 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 deep. And I'm more solution oriented, so I go down the road that's less traveled because we already have the globe tuned into the causes, the what is happening, what's the pain, the statistics, and all of that. So for me, being solution oriented, like the ancients say, be the change that you wish to see in the world. I kind of tune out of what is happening and kind of take back my power by making a choice to live empowered, live not turning a blind eye to what is happening into our reality, but being a solution, being a light, showing a new way by embodying my strength, embodying my power, embodying my magic, being love, being light, which I just said, but and sprinkling in those things, like as far as creating, how I've mentioned creating sacred space and holding space for women. That is something that I do where we can come together and we can spread love to each other, allow ourselves to express ourselves and our stories and our truths, and be able to uplift each other. And we are seeing more of that throughout the globe, of women coming together and showing that. And like being yourself, being completely yourself is the way that, being myself is the way that I've been able to bring more light onto this planet, bring more of a different perspective into this planet, because the racism is going to be there. The darkness is going to be there. To sum it up, that darkness is going to be there. But in order to transmute it, to change it, to transform it, we have to kind of like, okay, what's the solution to this? What do we need to do? What steps do we need to take in order to do it, instead of focusing so much on this is what it is, or dwelling in that? Asking yourself, or I've been asking myself, how can I shift this? How can I be more in my power? How can I appreciate myself more so that others can appreciate my beauty? And how can I be a reflection of other people so that they know that, you know, our black skin is not to be feared or demonized, you know, or to demonize us. But I'm more of, I like to encourage women and men as well, and the youth, you know, to be more of yourself, bring in more of your magic, find what your magic is, connect with that and express it, because that's the only way, you know, our stories are going to speak for themselves, and our power is going to speak for themselves instead of, you know, dwelling on, you know, what has been, or, you know, what is. It's like we can change the narrative. We can change it into a new, you know, create a new reality, and bring forth that. So,
but you've gone through a lot to get to the place where you are right now.
Exactly, and that's what I was gonna say. So right. I'm in a different, you know, age group. So me going through this journey has gotten me to this place of like, wow. But when I was younger, of course, you know, it took a toll on me. That's all you see in your reality, because I didn't have the tools yet. But as you go, I'm saying this because as you go along your journey, you're going to gain the tools, you're going to gain the knowledge, you're going to gain the wisdom in order to get to that place. But right now, you know, as a young lady, being able to being that example for your peers, being that example of bringing yourself out when you're seeing something that just that's not right. Of course, you want to interrupt whatever is happening, and interrupt the mindsets, and so it's like being that change agent. So I just have a different, my passion is in helping the youth be more solution oriented and bringing more of that into our current dynamics and what we see around us. So thank you for allowing me to share my spiel.
I just wanted to say it's so inspiring to hear that, because I've always struggled, and I still struggle with feeling a pressure to prove myself to everyone, especially in like AP classes and in school, to prove that I'm not the negative stereotype of a Black girl. And it's just inspiring to hear that over time, we will get those tools to deal with this pressure and racism. So yeah, it was nice to hear your little thoughts and kind of story. So thank you.
Tyler, were you trying to say something?
It was kind of on a different topic, but I was just gonna say that at my school, I go to predominantly white school, and when we go to like affinity groups, we try to find things we can do for the school that will help us like
help people be involved, or like, because we noticed like ignorance at our school a lot, and that's like our biggest problem is ignorance. So we did this like day where we only talked about race, like for a whole day, and we had workshops all around the school all day. And I would say probably 25% of the student body skipped it and thought it was a day where they didn't have to come to school and they didn't have to learn. So yeah.
I'm interested in, Zay talked about the tools that she developed over her life. And I remember being at a predominantly white school as a early middle school, but elementary school student. And I remember having some white peers tell me, well, I don't really think about you as Black. You're not really Black. And I remember feeling super relieved by that. I remember being like, whew, because they said so many negative things about Black people at the time that I was happy. That's so crazy to me now, but I was happy that they weren't lumping me in with the stereotype in that's what I was thinking. Instead of saying, wow, you're representative of the diversity of beauty and Blackness. So happy to know you with the Black person that you are. They had to make me less Black to make me actually okay with them. And at the time I was so interested in not standing out and so interested in not being focused in on and bullied that I was like, oh yeah, let me just stay under the radar as not that Black person, And so those are the things that as you get older, my mom went and bought me a t-shirt that said, happiness is nappiness. All my white friends were like, I like to take naps too. but the whole idea of having people around you who continue to mirror for you that you don't have to be somebody else's definition of Blackness to be happy with your Blackness, to be able to stand in that power. And I'm wondering from your vantage point, the younger folks, what do you think that in terms of the spirit of what we can do, which is what Zay was talking about, what can we do? What do you think that you can do? Like, what do you feel like you have the power to do and change in your environment? I would love to hear that. I know Kimora and Naime have had this experience with colorism where people are like, there's a group of dark-skinned girls who are pretty, and that is like the exception. Like these are the girls who are qualify as pretty, who are in the dark skin category. They've had that experience and they try to dismantle that. But I'm wondering about, what do you think that you can do in your spaces to give people either the tools or to push people's thinking in this area?
Okay, so as another Black girl that goes to school in a predominantly white area, I've experienced colorism in every way, shape, or form, whether it be from someone saying, well, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl, or saying, like hearing my friends' stories of constantly getting turned down by our own race of people, saying, because they're saying things like, oh, well, I only date white girls because Black girls are loud and ghetto and ratchet, or saying, well, you have a lot of hair for a Black girl, or things of that nature. I feel like the youth in general have so much power and so much impact over each other. So I feel like having conversations like this and being able to like start petitions to put classes that teach our history in school, so things like this won't happen in the future, would be a solution to things like colorism and racism.
I also live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and my school is predominantly white, and I experienced racism, colorism, like stereotypes thrown at me. And something that it hurts me is when people tell me like, oh yeah, you're really whitewashed, or like you're like the whitest Black person I know. And I just like to try and like ask them like what was their point in saying that to me, and I'm just like, and what do you mean by that? Like, you cannot. I just try to like let them know like you cannot act a race, and like they're just like, oh well, you're just like stereotypically white. And I'm just like, I just ask them like, okay, but why? Like, what are you trying to like prove to me? Like, so that's what I do, and I don't really have any more problems with it because I know how to like deal with what it's thrown at me. I'm just like, okay, you don't need to like do this to me. Like I'm not like, so when people tell me that, I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna move on with my life. Please don't say this to me again, because it hurts me that like I just hate when people say like, oh, because I live by the beach, or like my school's white, that makes me white. But I'm like, you can't act a certain way, and I just try to let them know that that's just stereotypes and it's not cool. That's, yeah.
I want to say something else because you brought up that. One thing I have a problem with is when people associate being educated or being proper with being white, and it's really problematic, and it causes a bigger impact than what people think, because you're portraying that in order to be successful and educated and proper, you have to be white or of European descent, and it's just, I feel like it's really problematic, and that's something that needs to be solved.
Really quickly, sorry, you go first.
You can go
I
ahead.
just talked, you go. I just talked.
Okay, I feel like it's a little bit different for me coming from the Gambia, and I feel like I was born in the US in New York, but I lived most of my life in the Gambia, and most of my life I've been going back and forth. So it's a very confusing thing when you go to a place like the Gambia and it's colonized by the British, and then you speak and you hear the language that your mother and grandmother and everyone around you speak, but then people call you like an outsider or a British person. Or like I got locks before I chopped off all my hair because ain't nobody got time for that. I really don't have time to be doing my hair, but I went bald because I have too much to do and I'm growing it back slowly. But I had locks before, and I was in the salon with my younger brother, and this guy came in and he was like, there's no such thing as a British African. And like everyone in the salon was like, oh my God, no, he did not just say that. But like that stuck with me because like I have the craziest friends in the world, because like people would sometimes come up behind me and start touching my hair and be like, exactly, where are you from, or like, what are you, or like weird and like crazy questions like that. And I feel like I would go from being here and then going to the US and being afraid of the police or seeing all of these shootings on the news, and I'm signified as that African girl because was I grew up in a neighborhood with no black people, like none whatsoever. Like everyone for like a very, very like 50-mile radius was like totally white. So kids would be like, what do you eat in Africa? Do you eat bugs and stuff like that? And I feel like just that ignorance that comes with that, I feel like it's very interesting going from one to the other. It's like total polar opposites. And I feel like one thing we need to do with our, like, to help ourselves is know who to surround yourself with. Like, I don't have friends that don't accept me for my crazy, nerdy, weird self no matter what, because like I'm normally someone who normally keeps quiet. If someone says something to me, I just ignore them. But my friends will be like, don't say that to her. That's not okay, because it's not a nice thing to say to someone. And they've inspired me to speak up for myself a lot more. So I feel like as Black girls and women growing up in this time period where the system is against you, where media can be against you a lot of the time, like even passing billboards that say you should bleach your skin and have pictures of lighter women. Like, this is in the Gambia. It's such a small country, but we have so many billboards and things like that of like skin bleaching, hair straightening, like all of that. I feel like if you want to straighten your hair, it's okay. If you want to be lighter, that's your choice. But I feel like you shouldn't be pressured to do that or pushed to do that at such a young age through so much of the media. So I feel like we need to be there for each other no matter what. We don't need to compete with each other. We don't need to be like, oh, you look like this, so I'm not going to be around you, or shun each other, because I feel like we need to have our tight circles and be around each other and be there for each other and stand up for each other. Sorry for talking so long. Thank you. That's all I have.
I'm so, I'm sorry.
Something really quick.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I agree with all three of you, especially because people think that, like, a lot of people here, they call me whitewash like every day because AP classes, I dress a certain way, and they're just like, oh, I mean, okay, whatever. But thing is, I just don't like how they think the darker you are, the worse, or like the more Black you are, the worse you are, and then it's like a scale, and I don't appreciate that at all, because like if you're saying this to someone, like, you know, right? But like, think about your mothers and your ancestors. Are you disrespecting them as well? Because we're all Black in some type of way. So why does it make a difference? Like, I don't get that or understand that, because it's just not. And especially with the hair thing, when people are like, oh, your hair, do you not have any? I just feel like because you're Black, you just don't really like. Have you like, I don't really get that. Like, okay, maybe because we have shrinkage and stuff, if we blow dry our hair, it's gonna be like, okay, but I just, yeah, that just makes me mad. But
Oh my goodness, this has been so wonderful to hear from all of you. I wanted to say that many of you have been in my classes. Some of you have been forced to be in my classes. But what I appreciate, what I really love about what Zay had to say, because I've known Zay since before Zay was born. And there are hardships along the way. There are hardships along the way. There are difficulties along the way, but we are the healing. You are the healing. And I think that the issue, and it's come up a couple of times, is to be able to be yourself, to speak for yourself, to create your own narrative of who you are. I've been in two documentaries recently. One of the documentaries is called Invisible Portraits, Visible Portraits. Because we've been, erased and we've been invisible. And these were just a group of Black women that they interviewed. I was among them, and it was so heartfelt what I got from this documentary, which should be coming out, I think, on the end of this month. And it really showcased the power of Black women. There's a Black woman there whose son was murdered, right? And clearly, it was a hate situation. It was police involved, and she talked about losing her son. And then there were those of us who have been very deeply involved in social justice. I think most of you will end up somewhere in that social justice arena, but kind of bringing in this whole idea of Bound. So the other film I was in was called Bound. And Bound was about the experience of Africans and African Americans, the perceptions that Africans have of African Americans, and the perception that African Americans have of Africans. My goal has been to forge unity. My goal has been to bring us together. Because both of us have been injured by the rhetoric of racism about each other. Like someone from Africa comes to America and they say, stay away from the African Americans, because they've already heard all of the kind of things. They're going to shoot you. They think you're ignorant. They're all of this. So they will avoid African Americans. And then African Americans are like, how can you avoid us? Right? How can you take on that do you understand what we've suffered to be here, right? And so then they'll say the exact same thing. They'll go, yeah, but people will say, oh, I'm not going to Africa. Africa stinks. Africa, people don't wear clothes. And so Africans are feeling that same kind of stereotypical kind of ignorance that comes across. And the way you go against that kind of thing is to speak truth. We got to bring the truth. Speak truth to power. Speak truth to your friends and the folks that are not saying stuff that's right. And in the same way that Mary has said is, control the group of folks that are in your world. I think that was such a mature statement to begin to take a look at who's in your world, who's detracting. Is there anybody pulling you away from yourself or pulling you away from the trajectory of moving up? Are they pulling you down or are they pulling you up? And you make that determination. That's a tough call. We have to make it throughout our entire lives. But my feeling is that this conversation from beautiful, intelligent, incredible Black females from across the spectrum, you become the evidence. And again, insisting upon information. Like when you go to your school, you're saying, this is why aren't we studying? And rather than just being complain, bring some literature and say, I believe this needs to be introduced into the curriculum because it's nowhere else, right? You have the power to do that so that others coming up behind you aren't faced with the same zero amount of information in those schools. So wherever you are, you can insist and say, I understand, I don't understand why we don't have these books in the library. I'm not certain how we can talk about American history and leave out the experiences of significant contributions of people of color. There's all kinds of things that you can do. That's my lane. My lane is really trying to hold folks accountable, lifting my people up, but also holding folks accountable and understanding that you're not alone. You are not alone. We have folks that got you. I got you, whether you want it or not. I'm there. Yep. And again, and I say that, use me. Because I remember one person was going through a great major thing at her high school. And she was struggling. And she said, can you come? And I showed up. I showed up with the data, with the literature, with the scholarship that shut down the nonsense that was going on at that high school. Not everybody can make that phone call, but I'm going to show up because I understand how important it is for you to have someone have your back. Whether you're taking classes and a professor says something crazy to you, if you're at school, again, you're not by yourself. You do not have to do this by yourself. But I think just being, learning to lean into your own authentic place. So happy to hear what you've been saying, and Zinga as well, in terms of, holding people accountable and not allowing people to write your narrative for you. Because you see, so long as we do that, they will write it. They'll write your narrative for you and we'll sit back and be mad. Can't be mad if we don't write it.
So I want to give Zufan an opportunity. One of the things that we were talking about, Zufan and I had a conversation, and this goes also to what Mary was saying around who you surround yourself with and, how her friends empowering her. I know Zufan had a situation where a really close friend of hers constantly was making comments about her hair. And this is supposed to be a good friend. Will you tell us what happened, Zufan, and tell us what you're trying to do to change that?
There was something that she did about two things she did about my hair, and also she commented about I'm African American and Ethiopian, and there was something that happened about that. So so I had my hair done really nicely, and I really liked it, and that it was in two ponytails on the side, and my mom said your hair can't be tangled up, so she tied it at the bottom and it looked really cute, and I really was excited. So I went and I came to school late that day. They were helping me get my mask done, and I sat next to them. I go, how does my hair look? And I'm really excited, and then they start laughing, and I'm like, what? And then one of my friends goes, it looks like hot dogs. And then they start laughing some more. And then my other friend says, it looks like lungs. And then I start laughing at me, and then I said, stop laughing at me, that's not funny. And like, okay. And then they still laughing, so I cover my face up with my hand, like, what are you doing? And they keep laughing at me. And I felt really bad about that. Another time, my hair was pulled back, and it was kind of cornrowed. And then I said and it wasn't cornrowed, but they were tied, and then it went all the way down. And I said, how does my hair look? Once more, but it was a different time. And then she said, it kind of looks like flat balls or flat tires or something. And then I'm like, that doesn't, no, it doesn't. And then she's like, well, it kind of does, or snakes. And then I felt really sad.
Told your big cousin, and what did your big cousin tell you? Because you did come and tell Naime what happened, right? So part of it was Naime, what did you tell her to do?
We are gonna have a sleepover with all of us at your house, and they're gonna know what's what, and that's that. Tim, me, you, and
The point is that when she was able to tell she was able to tell her cousin about what her experience was. One thing that Naime told her is you have to stop asking her what she thinks about your hair. Like that can't be something you ask. One, and two, if you need us to back you up, we'll just have a space, we'll create a space where we can have a conversation where we can then, she could be the influence on Zupan's friend. So what Mary was saying had a lot to do with when you talk about who's going to be in your circle, who's going to support you. I tell Naime all the time, I will let you go and be with Kimura somewhere, because Kimura's not going to let someone abuse you or mistreat you. There are people that sometimes are your friendly associates who you have to be careful with, because if they may still envy you, they may still be a little jealous. And even if you love them, you have to be careful having them around you, because if they feel not good about themselves, they will take an opportunity to make you not feel good about yourself. So you have to think about who you have around you. And then if you do tend to be around people who maybe aren't as secure themselves or aren't as loving of themselves, who do you have in your circle that's going to inspire you to stand up for yourself, or is going to remake that narrative? Did anyone else want to make any comments about this?
I had one more thing to say. There was another time I had another friend, and she bring this book to school, and I was like, what is it about? And I'm from Ethiopia, and she's from Eritrea, and they're really close, and they speak the same language. And then she's like, this is how you speak Eritrean. The Tigrinya. And then I was really excited. And then we have, at the end of the day, we have Explore. It's kind of where you get to do whatever you want for like 30 minutes for the rest of the day. And we said we should make a station where you could learn Tigrinya. And we made a station, and I went to my friend, and one of the choices was going outside. And then I said, Zora, her name is Zora. I said, do you want to come to my station with me? And then she said, I don't want to learn about your language or anything. I want to go outside. So she didn't go. Nobody ended up showing up, and it was just me and my friend. And she was outside, and I felt really sad because she said, I don't want to learn your dumb language. And it really hurt me really bad. So for a little bit, I really, I kind of thought about maybe sometimes there are people that you really care about, but they're like Auntie B said, they're not the right people to talk to. And so now I don't really speak to her about stuff like that. Yeah.
That was a good decision. That was a good decision. You don't get, like Bahia would say, you don't give people the keys to drive you crazy. Don't give them the keys. That means we don't walk into situations that we know, we're going to get harmed. You don't have to do that. And sometimes you do need to have someone, speak for you, maybe someone older, maybe a cousin or a friend. And again, trust me, we've all been through those kind of things throughout our lives. I was the only one in my program, the only Black PhD student. And I can remember people saying, do you get the same work we get? I said, what is it? I get remedial work? What What do you think? Because I couldn't possibly be receiving the same level of schooling. Somehow there was some kind of special thing for me. And these are, big grown-ups that shouldn't be that silly. But I had to deal with that. And I had to say to them, yeah, no, I have the same work you have to do, okay? I earned the same things. But again, it's that difficulty in people embracing you. The other thing that we have to look at here that I want you all to look at, because it came up a couple of times, and that's the intracultural experience of dealing with folks that don't like who they are, that Bahia was talking about, and that's part of our history. So I want to make certain that you all know why we have all this colorism, why we have all this facial features, hair texture crazy that we have. Because you see, that is part of the history. We were separated based on color. We were given certain privileges based on what color we were. And people are trying to survive under very, very violent and horrific experiences, and American chattel slavery and segregation and lynching. I mean, folks don't know who they are. So it is our responsibility to help them embrace their whole selves, to help them love their whole selves. But do understand that this comes from years and years of it getting passed along. Even parents saying to their children, horrible things about the way they look. And because that parent was told that by their parent. You see what I'm saying? It gets passed along. So what we have to do is change that trajectory and pass along the good stuff. We've got to say, we're not passing along that nonsense. We never allowed in our environment for people to say harmful, ugly things about anybody based on their physical features. Our family runs the gamut in terms of cultures. We have a very multicultural family. Zara's mother, for example, is from Sri Lanka. Okay, so we cover everybody here. We got Tala there, who's, a Tongan. So we got all kind of mixtures, and we got Kayla, folks from Colombia, Honduras. We got the United Nations right here on this call. So again, what we can't let people do is define us in narrow ways. We are not just, what we're looking like. We are attorneys, and we are dancers, and we are healers, and we are spiritual, and we are all of those things. And that is what we have to insist. We are multidimensional people, and we have to insist that people respect who we are. Bahia, do you have something to say?
Well, we are at our time, but I wanted to give people an opportunity to have some last statements. I would love it if every person would, leave here with either one thing that they're taking away from this, and one thing that they're going to try to project the joy that they feel out into the world. Or maybe even just, I watched something recently where Dr. Ruha Benjamin was talking about how there were people who smiled at her in moments where she just needed to receive someone else's light, right? And that you cannot underestimate how powerful you giving someone else some light and some inspiration and just some love, just giving other girls and other women love, especially during this time, it's such a healing impact. No judgment. I love you. I want to see you succeed. When you shine, we all shine. Giving someone else that, being excited for somebody else's success. I just want to know what one thing that you've taken away from this, and one thing that you're going to try to do to put that light out into the world and uplift your sisters.
Well, something that I've really had to come into, grow into, and I feel like a lot recently for some reason, is being confident in my emotions, and letting that not necessarily take over a conversation, but guide me in what I want to say. And that comes up a lot in conversations with race, especially I feel like in my direct community and in my religious community. And a lot of times there's backlash on what I want to say, and with people who bring up these topics. And so I've really had to gain a lot of confidence that what I'm saying and what I'm doing is right. And I found that once I leave conversations, there are kind of two contrasts, right? You leave wishing you had said something and wishing you had spoken up, or you leave feeling proud, right? And I've realized that like stepping into that courage of like trusting my emotions has always left me with feeling more proud of what I said, and I don't regret anything. And you know, because sometimes you can leave thinking for weeks, years even, about what you wish you had said, right? And so trusting my emotions and also surrounding myself with people that will validate what I'm feeling. Whether or not we agree on an argument, if I say I feel some type of way, okay, that's all you need to hear, right? Like just validate my emotions, then we can go from there, but don't say that what I'm feeling is incorrect. So really surrounding myself with people who trust what I'm feeling.
Yeah, going off of that, Kayla, Dr. Joy, you were talking about, you know, how some people want to bring you down because they don't feel good about themselves. But I think that one way for you to help others feel good about yourself is feel good about themselves is by feeling good about yourself and being confident in who you are and bringing your whole self to every space that you're a part of. It's really easy to sort of go with the flow. And whether you're in middle school, high school, college, you know, when it's easy to go with the flow, but what's not easy is like Kayla was saying, you know, speaking up and letting your voice be heard. When you hear people saying comments that, you know, might be ignorant, you know, saying something and calling it out, speaking truth to power. When you see another girl whose hair looks beautiful, tell her hair looks beautiful, or, you know, tell her she's beautiful. And like Naime said, you know, don't ask other people how they feel, you know, just be you and let your light shine. Honestly, my little sister Nzinga has helped me with that. Growing up, my mom is biracial. She's white, half mixed with white and black, and so she didn't really know how to style my hair. When I was a little girl, she put it in plaits, but once I got older, like I didn't want to wear plaits anymore. So I would go get my hair braided, which is a very painful process. I was very tender-headed. And like Mary was saying, it's like a whole process to do your hair. But you know, seeing my little sister Nzinga wear her hair, you know, in her froze and going to school, you know, with her Bantu knots, and it really made me realize, like, one of my friends told me, like, Zamani, you always have your hair in protective styles. I'm like, it's because it's, you know, it's easier or whatever. But, you know, it's really, that's when I just want to say Nzinga, really seeing her like really be secure in who she is and proud of who she is has really encouraged me to be like, I should wear my hair, you know, in a fro more often, or, you know, stuff like that. I had an internship last summer in Boston, and Boston is I grew up in Atlanta, which is very diverse. Boston is not diverse. And one of my mentors told me, you know, when you go to Boston for your internship, be Becky. You know, you need to assimilate and, you know, talk the talk and walk the walk. And how are you going to wear your hair? You need to wear your hair straight. And, you know, people are going to give you that advice. I mean, there will be people who give you that misguided advice, but you just ignore it. Just be yourself and be who you are, because you owe it to those who are coming after you to give them permission to be themselves as well, because they're going to see you. And, you know, a lot of images that I see, you don't see a lot of Black women lawyers, but the few that I do see, you know, a lot of times you have, you know, your hair straight, you have this, you know, this look that you're trying to conform. But you owe it to I've realized that I owe it to myself, and I owe it to those coming up behind me to be my authentic self. And so I would just say to all of you, you know, just like kind of echoing Kayla, just speak up when you feel the need to speak up. When you feel that voice, speak up.
One thing that I took away from this conversation is that every conversation that you have, everything that you say is a big impact. And one thing that I agree with Kayla on is like having conversations, leaving conversations feeling like I didn't say enough, or they didn't really understand what I was trying to get across, but realizing that everything that I say has an impact on somebody, and that somebody can have an impact on somebody else, and that is what causes change.
I what I am taking from this is to, like Nzinga and Kayla were saying, to speak up for yourself, because I remember a lot of times where I had people say really rude things to me, and I would just stand there and be like, okay, and then I wouldn't even tell my parents about it or talk to anybody about it. I would just stay there and ignore it. And I really regret that. And I feel really proud to be who I am. I've heard a lot of stories about my family, about my mom, about my dad, about my grandparents, about everybody, and it gives me a hope to be just like them, because they've done great things. And just because I look like this and I have all these features as a Black girl, it doesn't make me any different from a white girl or another boy that goes to my school.
Hello everyone. I just wanted to say I didn't quite catch that girl's name, but to the little girl speaking, I just wanted to say you are such a brave person, and I am so sorry that you had to go through all of that at such a young age. It's just not fair and not right. But I feel like as young Black girls growing up in the society, we have to grow up fast. We have to grow up faster, because I feel like it's just how we have to survive. You have to think of different things that other people would not have to think about, and that you should not have to think about as a child. But I feel like that is so important. And I feel like everyone speaking here today, you all are so amazing. And thank you for being here. And thank you for having me here. I'm so honored to be on such an amazing panel of people. I am so grateful to be here. I think it's really important for people to know about these issues, because it is a big issue in our society and it often gets swept under the rug. And I feel like just this whole idea of everyone is equal, have the world be one country and mankind its citizens, it's really just the simple answer to everything. I feel like she said so amazingly, she was just like, I'm not different from anyone else. And I feel like just everyone having that mentality would fix so many of the problems in the world. And I am so grateful to be here, because a lot of the times I do go to Starfish and we have a pledge and we have an anthem which says, if I may recite it, I am not the product of my circumstances. I am a composite of all the things I believe and all the places I believe I can go. My past does not define me. I can step out of my history and create a new day for myself. Even if the entire culture is saying you can't. Even if every single possible bad thing that can happen to me does, I can keep going forward. And I feel like this message that you're no different from anyone else, and no matter your background, ethnicity, race, or gender, everyone is one, and you can do whatever you dream of doing. I feel like you shouldn't have to be bound by these chains, like be like, oh, because I am from this family, or because I am this skin color, or because I'm a girl, I'm going to have to either prove myself to the world, and I feel like you shouldn't have to, but you sort of have to prove yourself to the world. You have to be the best person you can be because you're representing your race, your gender, almost everything. And you can't be like, oh, I'm a girl, so I can't do certain things. Like, if anyone tells me because you're a girl or girls don't do a thing or a certain thing, I always make it my business to do that no matter what, just out of sheer stubbornness. I went to a boarding school and they had a computer lab, so every day we'd have technology classes, and I was only there for 3 days, and one of the kids was showing me a tour, and the teacher was showing me a tour, and they didn't tell me that there was a programming class in the computer class. So I ended up doing a bunch of other stuff, and I went up to some students, I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we're doing a programming game. And I asked the teacher, I was like, how come I didn't get to do the programming game? I didn't know it was even there. And he's like, not many girls are in programming. We don't have any girls in programming. So I went out on a tangent. I was like, this is not right. You need to have more girls in programming. This is not okay, but put that aside. But I feel like this is a really important thing. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. I have a few poems here about myself and about Black people in general and my experiences traveling around. And I feel like here there is not a lot of people who know about the issues that African Americans sometimes face, and not a lot of African Americans that know the issues some Gambians or West Africans face. And I feel like there's a lot of ignorance on both sides just because there's not a lot of education about both sides of people. So I feel like here, if I share some of my poems, if you haven't gone through it, you don't understand it as well. Like, you can feel bad about it.
So so this is what I was thinking. After we have everyone share their thing that they're taking away and the thing that they are going to put into the world, I want us to take a moment to honor Breonna Taylor, who was killed, unarmed woman who was killed in March. And I want us to honor her, but I think I would love for you to end our entire session with your poem to honor Breonna and to move us forward. So can I save that poems for the close? If that's okay with you, Ma'am Mary, we'll save that for closing. And then we'll get to everyone quickly about one thing you're taking away and one thing you're going to put into the, put out there to your sisters. Why don't you go?
Okay. One thing I took away from this call is that we're all tied together. Like, even though we look different a little bit, we're all tied together in some way with a sisterhood or something. And honestly, I think once this corona is over, we should go on a little trip or something. Anyways, besides the point. Point is, this is a nice little gathering and have sisters and everything like that. So, yeah.
What are you gonna do to put joy into the world?
Oh, I'm gonna, like she said, smile to more people. Like when I walk down, she just. And I'm gonna encourage other people to just, be better in life and, yeah.
Okay.
I want to say I'm super inspired by all of you young ladies because this is bringing so much healing to my youthful self, my inner young girl, because I did not have the courage like you guys did at that age. I was very silent, even though my inner world was very wise and smart and saw the imbalances in the world. I didn't have the courage to speak up. I didn't have people to encourage me to speak my truth, speak my voice. And so this is bringing me so much closure. And you don't want to be like me and wait till your late 30s or late 20s, early 30s up until now, doing all this healing work and learning how to use your voice and speak your voice at an older age, And so I'm just so inspired by the wisdom that you all carry, especially little Zupan, oh my gosh, just such beauty and elegance and eloquent words and all of you. And so it makes me super proud and to know that this next generation, you guys are such big thought leaders and going to be out in the world just inspiring all of our brothers and sisters in being yourself. And so I am going to, I guess for me, I will continue moving this type of dynamics forward. Keep doing more of this, and making sure at the end of the day that I've made myself proud, checked every box off on my list on all the things that I want to do that brings inspiration and beauty and love into the world. I want to make sure I do that in each moment of my day. So that's what I'm going to do to carry this forward. So thank you all. Thank you, Mama Joy, for hosting. Thank you, Bahia, for hosting. And I'm super grateful and honored to be here as well.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and you've been very inspiring this whole time. Also, just knowing that Naime said this already, but to add to what Naime said, that we're all connected and all going through the same thing. Our struggle may be a little different in certain ways, but we're all struggling. And to have these spaces to talk to everyone and feel more confident and feel more joy and more motivation in your everyday life is just nice to have. And that's what I've taken away from this. And to bring more joy, I think I want to have more spaces like this so that people can feel this same feeling I'm feeling right now when I'm talking to everyone. So yeah, and smiling.
I agree. I think I appreciate this space. It's so inspiring to hear everyone's like stories and experiences. And so one thing I took away is just to keep like embracing and being proud of who you are, and just knowing like you have to stand up for yourself and like knowing ways to do it. And then I'm going to spread joy by spreading happiness and giving off like positive, happy like vibes, I guess you could say. And thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
One thing I took away from this is to be more solution oriented. Sorry, because a lot at school we talk about how we have the information now and what are we going to do next. So I think that's one thing I took away. And another thing I'm going to do is to be myself and work on my code switching, which is like being one way around one group of people and being another way around a different group of people. Because I know sometimes at school I catch myself changing to fit in, which is something that I should work on not doing. Thank you.
Zara, do you have some final remarks?
Yeah, one thing I took away from this is like to be proud to be like who you are and be yourself, and not like change to be like around other people or do what other people say to fit in, or yeah, and to be like proud to be who you are.
Keeping your circle small. I've always done that. I keep my circle very small. And the other thing is I'm taking away is to reach your goals in life. Also keep your circle small, and that's what I'll continue to keep doing, because that's what's better for me and that's what's best for me. And have that love and that care. It's always been me. I've always been a loving, caring person. But make sure that energy and that vibe is still there and continuous.
So everyone, I appreciate you guys bearing with us. We went over. We do a lot of times because if the spirit is there, we need the sisterhood and we need the bright spots. And we are very fortunate to be on here. And Breonna Taylor is not. She was sleeping when she was shot 8 times by the police who were at the wrong house. So we honor her, and we are sending all the love that we have with one another to her, and hopefully it assists her in the progression of her own spirit, to know that we are sending our love to her and to her family, and that we will do the best in our lives to put something out there that maybe she might have wanted to but couldn't. I know she was an EMT, so she was about saving people's lives. So maybe we can do that, save people's lives spiritually, emotionally, mentally. We can be those kind of healers. So if Ma'am Mary will take us out with some poems, that's how we'll end our Wellness Wednesday today.
Okay, thank you. I write all of my poems, and I started writing poetry when I was around 11 years old. And since then, I have been able to say it one of my poems called Puzzles about my life personally in front of 600 people. But today I would like to say one about Black people, and mainly the stigma, stereotypes, and about Black people and shootings that have happened in the past. So I feel like this one relates a little bit better. I hope you all enjoy, and here it goes. The title of my poem is Maybe That's Why. Let's go back into history, all the way back to a time of my ancestors, all the way back to the time when my ancestors had to travel by boat, kept in pens like animals. Maybe that's why I can imagine one side of my family being thrown into the ocean, while the other side are the people who took them. When we were chained, maybe that's why I can still feel the pain. Thinking about them being lynched, I swear it still makes me flinch. I swear I can hear the gunshots, feel the bodies drop, blood drops on the white snow, snow white. What I should have looked like. I'm like, I bet she didn't like it when the slave master raped her, but I bet he didn't like it when the baby looked like me. Not black enough to be black, but not white enough to be white. Maybe that's why he would have disowned me. So many Black people bleach their skin or perm their hair or feel like they have to look white when they don't. They look like me in the end. So many white people curl their hair and tan their skin to look black, but they don't. They look like me. Maybe that's why society might hate me. So let's come back to the 20th century. It makes me want to moonwalk until I'm skin as white as snow, waist as small as my pinky, to show that I'm wasting away, lips as red as the blood of my ancestors that were killed, the blood that was spilled, cheeks rosy red showing that some of us are still alive when some of us can't feel our toes because some of us have not even eaten in a week to get that small waist thing that society pushes on us. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, that perfect girl that so many reach for must be anorexic or bulimic. Oh, I almost forgot. The hair as black as tar. Like this tar, this poison seeping down my throat. This poison that society forces down my throat, like the N-word with society's finger on a loaded trigger, on a loaded gun. This stuff, this poison. Maybe that's why I can never see the light without seeing the darkness. That's what I love about myself. It makes the little melanin that I have on me want to crawl off of my white bones. The curls fall straight out of my hair. This tiny bit of wolof that I have been able to salvage, scrape its way out of my soul and off my tongue. This poison, this tar has me brainwashed to being afraid of Black men in hoodies, even though most of the men in my family are Black. Freddie Gray, aged 25, he was killed by the police. Walter Scott was shot. Gregory Gunn was shot. How many more do I have to name? Azelle Ford was shot. Tamir Rice is the one that kills me. A 12-year-old little boy in the park. I really don't know what is less threatening than a little 12-year-old boy with a toy gun. Oh, but he was Black, and his fake gun was Black, so he must have had it coming for him, right? Or so many of our brothers and sisters who have been shot, and the perpetrators, or should I say the murderers, have never gone to jail. Every time my Black parents go out, these names play games with my sanity. Goosebumps run up and down my spine, hairs stand on edge, chills run up and down my whole body. My eyes burn, my blood boils. I can hear my Black brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, grandparents, bones shake in their graves with bullets in their brains, bullets from the same gun, with not only their lives gone but their freedom. Too many Black girls who died during labor, or aborted or raised a child that reminded them of that terrible night. So many Black men put in prison when their crime was the melanin in their skin. So many Black girls put into prostitution instead of being seen as only a pleasure or a prize to be bought instead of particularly perfect people. Too many Black boys in jail, with their crime being melanin. But my promise to my ancestors, the slaves that were my ancestors who died for my freedom and theirs, for the right to live, and for my education, my promise is to not let their lost lives go in vain. My promise to you is that I will use these tools you fought and died for me to have to make sure that the next generation and the next nation doesn't suffer like you did. I will tear these mental chains and locks from my mouth, and I will not let this stop me. Hear me shout, hear me cry, hear me roar. I am a Black girl, and that is never changing. Thank you.
That was beautiful, so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think the ancestors are smiling on you and all of us. We love our people. We are in this space. We made this space because we love you. And we want you to know that if no one loves you, we love you. You're always deserving of love. And don't let society tell you any different. Don't believe it. And if you need us, we're here for you.
We love you too.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you all. We love you. Next time. Hearts. Hearts. Hearts.
You guys be well. Be safe.
Be well. Be safe. We love you all.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Can't go.
Bye.
Bye.